Fair Community College Board of Trustee meeting to order for January 25th of 2024. We have lots of guests in the room, and we would like to welcome you all, and those who are, of course, online. We are glad that you could join us. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda with an amendment.
We'd like to add a number 8 to the government report. So
Number 8.
after number 7, so yeah, number 8. So Cameron wasn't able to make it earlier, but she rearranged her schedule to be here. So
I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda with the amendment.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All the same sign. Do we have any citizens' comments, Lisa?
We have no citizens comments.
So now it looks like we're ready for introduction of new employees. Dr. Bates?
Steve Finnegan.
Martin's not here tonight. He had a family situation come up, but we'll get here. I would have been introducing Gary Morris as our new biology instructor. He just graduated from the University of Arkansas at Little Rock with a degree in biology. So he apologizes. Like I said, we'll try to speak him in February. Just to say hi. Yeah.
Steve?
Yes, Dave Knapp is my new custodian. He thought we were in the conference center, so he's on his way.
We'll pick him up and we'll get him.
I come back to
You can let Steve Bush.
Hello, I have several individuals to introduce. I've got Emily Bond, who is here with us in person. Emily is a new nursing instructor for our Sedalia campus. And Emily comes to us with a plethora of experience. She lives near Layton, Missouri. She's been a friend of State Fair Nursing for many years, so we're really excited to have Emily with us on the team. And then on Zoom, we have 2 individuals who have also been friends of our program for many years. Shauna Robert, she is teaching in the nursing program at Eldon campus and is in her 2nd week. And Shauna has worked in legal nurse consulting and I think med-surg, right, Shauna? Is that right?
ER and ICU when I was bedside.
Uh-huh. So she actually came and did the Bremer lectureship last year with our nursing students and did an awesome activity with legal frameworks of nursing and things. And so we're really excited for her to join us. So she's at Eldon campus, and then on Zoom is also Melissa Bedwell. Melissa is also a graduate, so is Shauna from State Fair Community College. And Melissa is our new PN instructor for Clinton campus. So our new PN program that we're starting in fall, if you recall, we were able to move over the 2 Clinton Tech faculty that they had there over to State Fair Community College, and Melissa is one of those individuals. So she's actually currently teaching a class for us here on Sedalia campus because that program doesn't start until fall. So we're really excited to have Melissa with us, and I got to actually spend the day with her in Clinton today. So welcome to them. I will be introducing Marla, who is the coordinator for the PN program next month, but she had a cattle issue that she needed to attend to. So she'll be here next month, and so will Colby, who was supposed to be here with us tonight too. Welcome.
Well, welcome, please.
Welcome. Welcome. Andy?
Ready? This is Dave Knapp. He's our new custodian. Dave started out with us a couple months ago as an affiliate employee, hired on it from one of our employment agency partners. So started out over at the old Howard building as a custodian. Now he's kind of been promoted over to the Gator building. So working over there. Sedalia native, born and raised here in Sedalia. And if you're around campus during the day, you probably see him around there too, because he's furthering his education with State Fair. As well as for glad to get Dave on board.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
If you guys want to slip out, or you can stick around for the fun. You already have the fun.
Hi, Steve.
Good day.
Next on our agenda is the approval of the minutes for the December 19th, 2023 board meeting. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, and then we have the approval of the minutes for the January 4th, 2024 special board meeting, which of course was published.
To approve.
I hear a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We'll look to Keith for the warrants for December of 2022.
So per the, note that you all have in your packet, disbursements of 3,158,768 for the month of December 2023. I think you can read where it all went as well as I can. So any questions, I just submit this for your approval. That's a good approve.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, we're now ready for our student government reports from Cameron. We're glad that you could join us tonight. Always look forward to hearing these reports.
Good. I have some exciting things to talk about. So as many of you may know, it's getting to that time of the year where homecoming is coming up. So the week of homecoming will be February 12th through the 17th, the actual homecoming game being on the 17th. It's a Saturday. So we have a lot of fun events planned throughout that week. And we also have our theme ready. So if you are a fan or you are following it, there is a new Hunger Games that we released recently. So we just wanted to kind of print it off the bat because we thought it was something people were really interested in and would really connect with, I guess.
Has the Hunger Games or is it totally different?
We're gonna just but our slogan we're using is State Fair Community College Homecoming 2024 Ballad of Roadrunners and Greyhounds. So that will be homecoming themed. So throughout the week, like I said, we have a lot of exciting things going on. So we're going to be doing the banner competition between all the clubs and organizations like we usually do. You'll be able to see those hanging up in the MPC during the actual homecoming game. And then along with that, we will be having our king and queen candidates as well. We are in the middle of getting all of those emailed into us at the moment. And then SGA actually throughout the week, on that Thursday, the 15th, we are going to have a cotton candy machine set up, just to kind of, tell more people about the game and everything. So we're really excited about that, and we hope to see everybody there. I know Dr. Bates mentioned, possibly working together on a project, so we're excited to learn some more about that and get into that.
Fill the Fred. We're gonna fill the Freddie Davis Multipurpose Center for the game that night.
But yeah, so that's kind of what we have going on right now is we're in the middle of planning homecoming. We are providing free t-shirts to the first 100 students who show up in the student section that evening. And then on top of that, if there's any other students who can't make it or know they'll be late or any staff that are wanting a shirt, we will have a form sent out or put on my SFCC. So anybody is able to order them from the campus store. So along with that, just a few more events that both student events and student government events going on right now. So tonight we are actually having bingo for the students, which is one of the most popular events that we host. We get around 100 to 150 students in the normal game, but there's always a lot of really good prizes. It's from 6:30 to 8:30 tonight, so we'll be over there in the cafeteria for a while. But we're super excited about that. I'm super excited about that. I love to go. I'm secretly an old lady at heart. And then on top of that, just recently we were supposed to be having a trail mix bar with this students, but because of the weather, we had to change it to a different date, and that date is to be determined. So just be on the lookout for that. And then on the 30th of January, we will also be doing a tote bag painting event. It's completely free to all of the students in Gator Lobby. It's just a fun little way to hang out and get some creativity out. But yeah, so back on right now.
Well, thank you for your energy and your passion.
Yes, of course.
Cameron, do you want to tell them about our partnership for the?
Oh, yes, okay. Yes, so myself and the rest of student government has been working with Dean Brush and a few other people on the team. We are currently working to push out a survey to the student body. I forget how you worded it.
It's surrounding the quality of instruction. If you recall, a few months ago, we were talking about feedback from students about quality of instruction. And so we've been working together for several weeks to come up with that plan. And Cameron shows up every time. She's very dedicated. I'm really, they joined us in partnering for that.
Yes, I think it's going to be very successful and it's a multi-step process. So we'll start with a survey with a couple more broad questions and then narrow down the next survey based off of what questions or what statements did we get the most from the first survey. Because really we want to do what we can to improve campus as it is for students. So I think this is a really good way to do that.
Thank you.
Of course, thank you.
And all who are involved.
Well, we are happy to do that. Thank you.
All right, next we have the institutional reports.
We have two institutional reports. I don't know, Jim or Dr. Mears, who's introducing the first report, theater department. Going.
And the Dr. Guys always tells people when we interview them for positions, he always brags about the fine arts and performing arts being the crown, the jewel in our crown. So it's been a while since you've heard from any program in that area, but they're fresh back from their annual festival trip to Iowa over the weekend with students. They want to brag a little bit about how they did, talk about the upcoming events in the theater program. So we have Tim Wells and Kristen Henning are both our theater full-time faculty members. So let them fill us in.
So yeah, as Jim said, we spent last week in Des Moines, Iowa, where it was about 10 degrees colder than it was here. And the Kennedy Center American College Theater Festival is the event. It's an annual event. And anything that you want to do with theater, they have something going on. And we've been participating in probably 17 years. And the big thing is that what we call the Irene Ryan nominations. The Irene Ryan, and then they have these auditions. And this year we had 2 students who qualified, made it to semifinals in the Irene Ryans, which put them, we went from 253 to 68, puts them right around the top 26%. The reason that we consider that a big deal is there is no community college division. These kids are freshmen and sophomores are going up against juniors, seniors, grad students, people who've been in the industry. I mean, they've been acting, I know of a couple situations where they've been acting professionally for 5 or 6 years and then came back to school. As long as they're a student, they can participate. And we've always had a really good success in terms of trying to get our kids involved. Over the 17 years we've been involved, I think we've had 15 to 17 somewhere in there go to semis, and we actually have had 2 go to finals. Haven't had anybody win it yet. We're working on it, but yeah, I mean, I don't have time to go through the whole thing, but we've had tech kids, set designers win awards. We've had accommodations. Last year, Alex Knudsen won an accommodation for acting a song in musical theater intensive. So we're really proud of our kids because again, we're talking for the size college we are, and we're also going up against Johnson County Community College, which has a base number of students of 20,000. Normandale Community College out of Minneapolis has 22,000, and they're part of that too. And St. Clair Community College has done very, very well. We have students going all over this region. We have last year 4 kids graduated from University of Wisconsin Parkside. We've got 3 or 4 that are going to graduate this year. We got 3 or 4 that are still up there. They just transferred up there. We had 3 graduate from the University of South Dakota. We have 1 that's been accepted to Wichita, Western Illinois. We've got a couple at Southeast Missouri State, We kind of lost touch with UCM for a while, but we actually have some, we're building that relationship back up. We've got a couple kids going over there as well. And our students, I'm very serious. I go to other events, and the faculty that I see from these various places, love our students and really want our students and recruit our students very, very hard. We have a very good reputation, in this region, which is, run down this real quick, Missouri, Iowa, Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, and Kansas is our region that we deal with, Region 5. And our kids are highly sought after from a lot of these schools. So just, I think that, I'm very proud of that. I've been here 29 years and been working on that 29 years. And, Kristen was here as an adjunct and for a lot of time and worked and helped and, so we feel like it's a really good sign and really good state of affairs, I guess, that, we were state our community college, so representing college. A lot of colleges out there know us and know who we are because of that as well.
Have you heard me talk before? My voice is a little, it's better than it was, yesterday and Tuesday, which I had to whisper, in my stage voice and movement class, which is highly ironic. So that was fun. But no, it sounds worse, than it actually is. But yeah, I started teaching adjunct in fall 2012. Before that, I was a student, so I'm a product of the theater program, and it really set my trajectory and really, really helped confirm that this is what I want to do. So yes, I'm also very invested in this theater program in this institution. But another strong history that we have is our children's show, which every November there's a bunch of kids that come onto campus, usually between like pre-K to about, sometimes people bring in 7th, 8th grade, but typically it's between the pre-K to 5 or 6. COVID, we all know what happened. So we couldn't bus in people for a while. Last year, it kind of started to come, they decided to start bringing it back. But then this year, when I came in, I just was like, well, we're just gonna go full force, so we'll see what happens. And we actually had a really, really strong response. Schools wanted to bring their kids. I reached out, I did a bunch of that, because we didn't have like a list carried over. But we ended up bringing in our public performances between 3,200 and 3,500 kids and parents, family members to come see John's musical, which is right where those pre-COVID numbers were before. So very, very successful and very, very happy about that. We actually only had one public performance set, and about a month ahead of time, it sold out. And so I was like, whoa, I guess we'll add another one. So we added another one for Sunday, and that one also sold out. And we had, we played a game of Tetris, getting people in seats that were just kind of here and there. But we made it happen, and everyone got to see the show. But yeah, so we felt very proud of that production. A lot of kids saw theater for the very first time, and we believe that they left with a very positive experience, seeing not only State Fair, but also seeing theater, and then helping kind of move that forward. So outside of KCCF and that.
Well, just to let you know, right now, first 2 weekends of March, we're going to be doing a show called 39 Steps of Bridge. I'm actually directing that. It's going to be in the Studio Theater. It is referred to as a combination of Alfred Hitchcock and Monty Python. It's really, really funny, really, really cheesy. And then in April
24th to the 28th, we're doing The Lightning Thief, the Percy Jackson musical. So the kids are just over the moon excited about it. But we've also had a pretty strong reaction from high school students wanting to come and see it. So we've been doing high school matinees for our 3 big shows, not including our children's show. And Henry was a pretty successful one. And then now you know, we're really advertising that. We advertised that at the Missouri Thespian High School Conference that we went to. And we had a bunch of school teachers and kids that were really excited and they emailing me and getting it. So, we have that coming in, but, Percy Jackson is gonna, I mean, it's all student design, or, a guest artist design. And, they're all building everything. There's gonna be puppets and of course our set and our costumes. It's gonna be really, really cool. Obviously 39 Steps is gonna be really cool too. So please come see both. But we are very focused on students doing the design work if absolutely possible. Because it's not about us, it's about them and their experiences. And we have a really strong set of students, especially with the sophomores, that are really highlighting. So we're very.
And actually, speaking of students, right now, matter of fact, when we leave, we're going over to the studio. We had a play that we were supposed to go on at the end of last semester, but one of the, it's a 2-actor play, and one of them got COVID the day before it opened. So we're doing it tonight and tomorrow night. The script was written by a student, it's directed by a student, everything. Matter of fact, to be absolutely honest with you, I'm looking forward to seeing it tonight because while I've heard about it, I have seen nothing, I know nothing about, you know, in terms of the tech and everything. So, it's all, you know, it really is all about the students. So,
I have seen it because they came in, there's some, like some theatrical intimacy moments, that they wanted me to come in, which I'm very happy that they asked me so that we could go through and do that, in a very, you know, calm way. That's kind of weird to like direct your own student, you know, like student to student. So I went through and I worked with them. So everything there is very comfortable, but I've seen the production before. And it's really strong and I'm very proud of it. It's probably one of the best student directed produced things that I've seen here at State Fair.
I think we're over.
Way over time.
Well, this theater is, one of the jewels in our crown. And, the results of this festival attest to the quality of the program. I spoke to a high school principal that attended for years the children's shows. She said it was the best ever this year. I attend all the shows. The quality of performances just amaze me. And part of that is due to that. Part of the thing that makes our theater special is it's student run. And it's not a community theater. We have a good community theater in town with the Liberty Center. This is a student run theater. They get those experiences. But another testament to the quality of the theater is this fall, the Sedalia Democrat readers chose the best of in Sedalia. And the theater program was recognized by readers for its high quality. They brought a certificate by, so one of the reasons why we asked you here to present today was to publicly give you this certificate from Sedalia Democrat and their readers recognizing that high quality. We appreciate all of your work. What a wonderful programs listed.
You need a picture? Brad, do you have your phone?
Brad, real quick.
Dr. Bates, go and get that picture.
President, so go.
Thank you. Thank you for all you do.
So, our next guest is self-helping that so several years ago, all the community colleges in the state went together to develop I don't want to use the word common core, because that's a bad thing in education, but a common set of classes that would be recognized throughout the state, you know, equally transferable. It worked for a while. Now it's quit working. There's a new legislature coming on around a higher level system. We're not worried about that tonight, but I started on that initial committee part of it for a while, and I finally had to pass it off just due to workload. But so Kaylee Hobbs is here tonight. She's one of our division chairs. She took over the 442 program several years ago. She just wants to talk a little bit about Core 42. And when I say that, and that's really our general education side of things. Often we talk about the technology part of the campus and some of these other programs, but, gen ed is it pays the bills. That's where the majority of our students go, whether they're a nursing student, they still take gen ed classes or whatever. So she's just going to give a brief overview of that program and some of the stuff about it. And obviously we'll answer any questions you have.
I think that Dean Cunningham's way of telling you to be quick.
5 minutes filling in.
So I asked Dr. Bates how much you all would know about the 442, and he said quite a bit, so I'll keep my historical context brief, but it was signed into law in 2016 with Senate Bill 997, which had a lot of really positive things for higher ed in it. It became effective in fall of 2018, and as Dean Cunningham said, it's just a way to ensure that more credits transfer to public institutions in Missouri. If you think back, pre-442, some of the big changes were the literature category went away. So if you had to take a literature course as you were completing your education, our students don't do that anymore necessarily. They are able to go into other humanities and fine arts areas if they want to, which was sad for my area. I love English courses. And then the wellness courses went away as a category as well, but we've recently seen a return with one course, wellness for the individuals. So I can say that Jim kind of mentioned that it's not working or that it's, maybe slowing down. And I would just disagree a little bit in that it has allowed for students to continue to transfer, though there are issues with that. And I'll talk about those in a minute. And also that they work to bring back areas like the wellness course. I have gotten to serve as a knowledge area approver. I've gotten to serve at the state level because Jim handed it off to me. I really just feel fortunate that I've been able to see it from so many different levels. So in terms of numbers for the Core 42, there are 6 knowledge areas totaling 37 credits, which is a little bit funky since we call it the Core 42. But there's 5 credit hours there to kind of play with in terms of labs or this new course, wellness for the individual. There's now 1 interdisciplinary category, which will probably make room for other courses to come in, maybe like our college skills, those sorts of things. And there are 192 courses that will transfer among institutions, which I think is a great change. In terms of our own institution, 70% or approximately 70% of the credit hours generated are generated by these courses. So we do make up a lot of and contribute to our institution for that. We have 75 Core 42 courses, and we recently added 8 new courses. 40 full-time faculty members design and instruct these courses, and about 150 section instructors teach them. So this is the part where I feel like I'm in the Oscars because I get to start thanking people. So first of all, the registrar's office helps make these changes and keeps Banner up to date so our students are taking their correct courses. Then we have lead instructors who, like I said, are designing and instructing these, our section instructors, our discipline coordinators who coordinate all the lead instructors, our general education committee members. So I just have to take a moment and brag on people for a minute because with the change to the Core 42, we also made a lot of changes to the general education program. We brought in assessment, we do reviews on a cycle, and it represents a lot of work for our lead instructors, our people serving on the general education committee. Our deans definitely are a big help, our dual credit. And then I also have to mention our program coordinators because they ensure that our students take these sorts of general education courses as well. So a lot of thank yous to go out there. There are still concerns, as Jim alluded to. First of all, higher programs at 4-year institutions can sort of circumvent the transfer requirement by having, students, the courses transfer, but they can say that you have to take our course as a prereq to another course. And that's what the Core 60 is looking at, fixing. Let's see, other concerns, making sure that we have more standard course designs, descriptions and objectives. The true idea of the Core 42 is discussed a lot, which might go away with the Core 60, but for instance, stage makeup is a Core 42 class. And so we talk about, is it really general education, or are we getting into programs like certificate? And right now there is a moratorium on adding courses because they're trying to really decide where we want to head as a Core 42. So Senate Bill 1075 is introducing the Core 60, and that allows for program courses to enter into this sort of, some people might not like me saying this, but a sort of transfer library. I have a PowerPoint that I can send out with more information, but I am trying to be mindful of my time. Are there any questions?
That legislation is on, I think, page 13, right, Brad? Yeah, page 13, Senate Bill 1075, and it has a accompanying House Bill 2310. It's the 60, the Core 60. And we'll talk more about that later today on the agenda.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to hear from the general education sector of the college, that so often with the emphasis that's been placed on workforce development and technical program, that I think sometimes we overlook just the importance and that general education courses play to the success of the college and to the success of students who graduate. So really pleased with the opportunity to hear from the general education in the theater as well as the Core 42.
Well, Kaylee thanked a lot of people, but you can, she had just, as you can tell from her presentation, a tremendous leader at our institution, and especially laudable is her work with the General Education Assessment Committee, and that's been exemplary, and appreciate her leadership at the institution.
I'd like Keely's PowerPoint.
Yeah, if you send that to me, I'll send it up the board.
Sure. We don't have a trophy to give you, but we can forgive you.
I really appreciate you saying that, but something that has been really wonderful about working in this position is that I've gotten to see how much the technical side and our workforce development and general education need each other. And so I'm just really thankful. And also, I think I forgot to thank navigators who are really great about moving students.
Oh, it's so wonderful. Well, thank you so much for those reports. All right, next on our agenda is the proposed Winchester extension siting on College Farm. Dr. Bates.
I just want to give a little background to this agenda item. Prior to my presidency, Dr. Anderson worked with a group on as they worked on purchasing the farm to our west. And as you know, that farm was 400 acres. Half of it was purchased by the state fair, half of it was purchased by the college. And at that time, as part of those discussions, the state fair was contemplating using part of that land for some horse exhibition facilities. And so they were interested in, there were two issues that there was discussion of being addressed. One was some congestion on Clarendon Road, and one was access into those that horse facility on the west side of Clarendon. So State Fair purchased their property, we purchased our property, and a group started exploring options for a road that would go across our farm. And the vision was originating somewhere on 16th Street, probably most logically at the roundabout, and traversing across the farm, across the fairground to 32nd Street, where there would be a roundabout. It would cross on then through private development, Joe Fisher's development between 32nd and Sacagawea. And so there's been some exploration of different options for that. Since then, the State Fair has decided to build their exhibition arena on the east side of Clarendon instead of on the west side of Clarendon. So it is now in the Dodge Arena where the rodeo arena is. They're actually doing dirt work and things there now, preparation to build that facility. So we had a meeting last week. At that meeting, the State Fair director said, you know, that the impetus for that road for the State Fair is less because of the movement of that horse arena. So I asked the group, you know, the impetus for the project, you know, why are they looking at that project? And it's as that bypass function. So the roundabout connects to Winchester and 50, and ultimately the whole project as it completes goes through Sacagawea, and Sacagawea improvements envisioned to 65 Highway. Sacagawea is the road that abuts the south side of the high school, just for those with the street. So the purpose of the last meeting was to receive some proposed sites for a road, and the city contracted with an engineering firm to propose some sites. And those sites are included in the board packet. This is the proposed sites from the engineering firm, and it's not really clear. I'll kind of point out where this is. So this is the roundabout. And our property line runs roughly right here. So we own all of this property. There's 40 acres of row crop ground, and then the rest, the 160 acres of pasture land is there. So it doesn't show up on this well, but so this blue proposal would come straight out of the roundabout across the center of our row crop property, and then it would meander through our pasture and come around to the west border of the State Fair property and follow the west border of the State Fair property down to 32nd, which is down, this is Katy Trail, and 32nd is right in there. It's right past the limits. It doesn't cross Katy Trail, I don't think, but the other option would come come off the center and proceed a little bit to the west. And the third option would take an angle across the row crop ground, across the pasture. There's a creek that runs through here, and run along the, there's a fence line here, and go straight through to the State Fair property. So that group was, I would characterize less excited about these options. They all went right through the middle of our row crop ground. There was a lot of meandering on State Fair side. This project's not a direct benefit to State Fair. So Kelvin Shaw proposed with some input from some members of the group, two different options really designed to lessen the impact on State Fair Community College moving the roads to the side. And so Lisa, if you can call it that other one. I apologize that it came out in the board packet in pieces, so it wasn't easy to read. But Lisa, if you could make it. So can you go one more stop? Oh, too far down.
Zoom out just a little.
Yeah, zoom out just a little bit more. So this is, if you can scroll down the other way. There you go. So this is the roundabout. Again, one option would be coming out of the middle of the roundabout. Sort of there's a low area in our row crop ground and kind of a waterway. Here, this is some rough kind of creek area. So it'd proceed along there along the western side of our farm and over to the state fairground and then go back to the west and over to 32nd Street. The second option would traverse along the western side of our farm. And so the vision of this would be to put in a new roundabout roughly at Hedge Apple and 16th Street or Y Highway, and would go down the west side of our property. If you could scroll the other way now. A little bit more, keep going. So it would come down to the edge of our property line and then into our property line is roughly right here. And so once it would go onto the fair property and head straight west, roughly under those Highline wires to 32nd Street. So those are the options on the table with that group. There hasn't been traffic study done, though I did note that as of that meeting, there was no traffic study done or kind of planning for that whole project. Though I did notice today that there are traffic counters on 16 on Y Highway just west of the roundabout and on Clarity. So a traffic study would cost $250,000 approximately or so to fund. There is no discussions about Clarity improvements. That's kind of the start of that discussion. So that's pretty much the background for the project. So with that, open it up to discussion or.
Before discussion happens, I'd like to make a statement. I have the privilege of serving our community in several capacities. I also hold two public elected offices. So it's inevitable that discussions in those groups are going to sometimes cross over that could affect those other organizations. That being said, I always make sure that any decision that I make falls in the favor of the office that I hold or the organization and of course, the citizens of Sedalia. This conversation is extremely important to have. And so I want to make sure I maintain the integrity of this office and myself. And so I don't believe there is a conflict of interest if I was to make the decision, any decision. That being said, there could be an appearance of a conflict of interest. So with that, I will abstain myself from any conversation on the matter, as well as any vote on this matter. Okay. Thank you.
Respect.
Thank you. We respect that. Thank you, Tom.
Has any entity stepped up and said that they will be responsible for building, constructing, maintaining, and paying for the road?
For the portion that crosses the farm, our farm is in the county. And so no one has expressed responsibility for paying for that portion of the road or maintaining that portion of the road. it was stated at the last meeting it would likely have to be some collaborative kind of project. In Mr. Fisher's development, he is paying for that part of the road from 32nd Street to Sacagawea. And he's providing the easement for the road and building that part of the road. So that's the only part that there's a commitment on paying for.
When they discuss road, is it 2-lane, 4-lane? What's the width of the right of way?
I have not received clear information on that. I think that depends partially on the traffic study. Mr. Fisher has a 100-foot easement with curbed gutterings and ditches in his section of the road. I believe Winchester has less easement than that on the Winchester to the north of the roundabout. But I don't think it's been determined the specific requirements for the road.
So without the determination of how many lanes and such, we don't know how many acres that we'd be asked to ultimately grant right of way over.
That would depend on the size of the easement. It would depend on the route of the road and probably other factors. I don't build roads for a living, so I'm beyond my expertise in that area.
So without knowing the entity about determining a speed limit, traffic enforcement on the road, do we have any idea of what entity would be primarily responsible to do that?
There's been no discussion about that, but the farm is in the county currently, so enforcement would come from the county sheriff. Unless it was a state highway, so that hasn't been discussed.
It would depend what type of laws about the speed as well. It's a county ordinance or if it's a state.
County, state, or municipal?
Municipal if Sedalia takes ownership of it.
Any discussion about the provisions, like to move from one side of the farm to the other if the road were to go through? Thinking about safety of students, faculty, equipment that has to be moved. Any discussion on thinking about that, knowing that, with our institution, we're very concerned about students and faculty safety.
I expressed that if the farm crossed anywhere between, any section that, other than the very west side of the farm where we don't need to go any further west, we would need to have access to both sides of the farm for the safety of our faculty and students and our livestock to be crossing. So we don't, we have an investment in the farm and we don't want to be crossing a busy road with a herd of cattle as we change pastures multiple times during the year. And we especially don't want students navigating that. That's not a safe environment. So there has been some discussion about, ways other people have solved that problem by putting basically building in where the geography is appropriate, underpasses under the road for basically cattle, small tractor, and people to cross. But, that was just discussion.
If you were to encapsulate a short condensed version, what is the purpose that this road that's envisioned is served? What is it?
I asked that question at the last meeting and it was to serve as a bypass, to bypass Clarendon specifically.
So the follow-up question would be halfway, knowing the county a little bit, Quisenberry Road, which depending upon which subdivision, which way you turn, we're talking very minimal distances. to the roundabout or to Quisenberry, which Quisenberry, after you cross the creek and go through that elongated S curve, it's a straight shot to 32nd Street. So I'm not understanding what you're gaining. That's just my thoughts. I mean, we're sacrificing a lot for us, for the college, for what we're supposed to do, was just take care of our kids. And by doing that, you have structures, you have land, so on and so forth. And if it can be done by going, let's hang a west instead of hanging east, that doesn't make sense to me.
I'm wondering, I don't think everything we have to go underneath the road as well. If we're doing row crops, I imagine we'll be combining, those headers are big and they're tall and that would be quite an underpass. So, you know, that, I can see that, certainly additional fencing and gates, which is not cheap. And I wonder even about the cost of insurance on our animals and our equipment. You know, what that would look like if possibly, I don't know if that would be possibly different. If we have a road running right, I mean, in a bypass road, like people are gonna wanna move through there, right? So I'm thinking they're gonna be moving quickly.
So you say no study has been done on this, so what about a study like as that one would become then considered the bypass, people would be coming from, I'm thinking Friday night when you can't get through town. I'm even thinking during the day, I can't get through out of Walmart parking lot. But if they were to come on 50 and then turn down and come this way, has there been a study by the city to know, you know, what's the impact of more traffic down that way just to get to here? Are trucks allowed to go there, which then are trucks then gonna be allowed to go through here? Also Thompson Boulevard, I think about, I can remember the day it was a 2-lane road and now we see it's a 5. So knowing those things, so are we aware of any studies that have been done on the city part? Because that is city area.
There were no studies cited. I did ask about, you know, traffic studies and there were no studies brought forward. The discussion is for the road to accommodate truck traffic. Yeah. Because, yeah.
I think about 32nd and 65 as well. But you can't get out of that Y by the cemetery to save your life, hardly.
Although I do believe that is a priority for the city to address that particular intersection. But it would seem that is a problematic intersection.
Which intersection?
Domino's dash.
When intersection is speaking of?
Intersection is
32nd and 65.
32nd, 65.
That's a state intersection.
The county has some grant to improve 32nd Street and Sacagawea. And the city is in discussions with the state about improving that intersection. The highway 32nd and 65. So that's kind of the other side of the problem. I don't think those intersections were done with the idea that there would be a new road going through this. So it's based on the current traffic in those areas. My understanding.
And it only would affect State Fair Community College and Missouri State Fairgrounds. No other farmer besides, I mean, you mentioned about Joe, but I mean, doing that road, that whatever way it was done, does it go through anybody else?
My understanding is that it would not affect anybody else.
And I even still have a map in front of me. I would envision based off the lay of the land, it'd have to cross Dr. Clemens at some point, unless you bypass him.
I think it's to the west of his.
Okay. I know he's south of the fairgrounds, so I just didn't know where,
Yeah.
how it intersect there.
does it cross, Joe, on the city property from 32nd?
Yes, it goes across the Cloverdale Park
Cloverdale Park.
and then crosses the Katy Trail.
Well, and I guess I think about this is, you know, we had the ability to purchase that ground. We had the ability to purchase that ground with the intent of, we are looking to serve agriculture and serve future development of what we have as a master plan and what we have as visions of the college. And I think that's a working farm. And I think with the addition of the CAT building and just some of our future needs, and the one thing we think about is it property that maybe we don't need, or is it salvage? No, I mean, it's property we're going to use and we have a plan for. And I get that there's multiple proposals out there, and we're 100% community minded, but I think at the same time, we got to really take in consideration, what is it for the college as we are elected to look out for the college and look out for the students and the staff and do things. So, and I don't know if we're, if everybody's got their discussion out, but to me at this point, based off what we've seen, what we know, lots of questions to be answered, and more importantly, our needs, our students and our faculty of having a working farm, I would motion that we reject all proposed roads for crossing the college farm. Furthermore, if I can talk, oppose any new public crossing of the college farm, as that is a usable farm for us.
All right, we have a motion on the floor.
Second.
Discussion.
I'd also point out that we're talking about a bypass to improve traffic for in and around Sedalia. But our taxing district, the people who are taxed to support us include people who do not live in Sedalia. Benton County, Cooper County, even the folks who live in eastern Pettis County, their tax dollars were used to purchase the farm. And I think we have a responsibility to use our assets for the benefit of the entirety of our taxing district.
I think first want to thank that family that gave us this opportunity to be able to purchase this ground, because none of this would even be possible. So first of all, I just say thanks if anybody's listening, to the family that gave us this opportunity. Also looking at how workforce development is such an important part of the future. We hear it all the time. We at State Fair focus on that. We know that our strategic plan, faces that sort of thing, and we want to do what's best. But what a unique opportunity for State Fair to be able to have a farm. And so we know that, I believe I looked that up, Missouri Agriculture employs nearly 460,000 people across the state. So for State Fair Community College to be able to be, to be able to help develop those people that need to be, and there's lots of aspects of farming as we know it. I think that, using that to full potential so that we can, have that farm where it really can educate the students and the future of our communities.
And I think that's an important point, Patty. We have thousands upon thousands of farmers returning, a very small percentage that's able to get into it or have the knowledge of it or have the ability to grow their education in it. So I think that's a valid point to how do we continue to develop students and future citizens, and that's an opportunity that not many colleges get. So we should cherish that opportunity as well.
1 in 6 jobs is in agricultural related. So I don't see ag going away anytime. I hope not, because we're gonna eat.
To me, it's one of the things that everything that we've geared ourselves toward at this college since I've been on the board was to make our nursing program state of the art as best we possibly financially can. Everything in allied health, the Olin Howard bill, state of the art, because we want to keep our students at that level for entry into the workforce. Farming is no different. It's not like someone out east said, just poke a hole in the ground, put a seed in, put some water on it. It's not that. You know, the equipment they use, the preparation of the soil and there's so many vast changes from when my grandpa was farming versus today's farmer. So having this piece of a pie for our college, it's as we talked about jewels in the crown, that's a huge jewel and it's just starting out. We're just starting to get the program off the ground and running. You know, we're inevitably looking toward developing a premier facility for that purpose. And in turn, that would also follow the footsteps of our other programs. And we didn't buy the land, we didn't vote to purchase the land to put up ambulances. We didn't purchase land to give it away for roads. We didn't purchase land for that. We purchased for our students. And to say that we're not community minded because we're looking out for our students, that's what we're supposed to be doing as far as trustees. We're supposed to be looking out for our college. We're supposed to be looking out for our students. Now, if those goals are attained and it helps the community, which I think the farming education program will help our community greatly, then in turn it's a win-win situation. But just to blanketly cover our eyes to the needs of our college and the needs of our students in order to let the others have their stuff, I have a problem with that.
So I want to go back then and let's make sure that we know what the motion is. So Lisa, do you have that written so that we can have that again? No, and we can work with Justin to read it.
Yep. The motion would be, the board rejects all proposed routes for roads crossing the college farm. Furthermore, sorry, Lisa, I'm speaking really fast, sorry.
Do shorthand.
I bet you could just.
So may I hand it?
He'll send it to her.
I can send it.
Just go ahead and read it.
Okay. I'm gonna start over then. The motion would be the board rejects all proposed routes for the road across the college farm. Furthermore, the board opposes any new public road crossing the college.
Okay, so we
Then I
have,
was first and I think Tim was
yes,
second.
we have a motion and we have a second. All in favor of the motion that was presented to us? Let's say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, be nay.
Abstain.
Abstain, and then we have one that abstained.
Yeah.
Thank you for, sharing your thoughts. We appreciate it.
Well, we'll shift your mind now from the farm to, let's go, imagine the renovated building area. And so when we started that, we had the HVAC area, but we also had our IEM area with the new robotics. So if you remember those, we established and put in all the new robotic equipment. To do that, we had to have the safety and we had fencing. Well, what we did was had to utilize chain link panel fencing, which met requirements and so forth, but the appearance and so forth didn't really meet our standards as State Fair with having such a great facility and equipment. So what we've done is replaced it with the appropriate fencing, higher safety. It has the same, if you've been in there, the Fanic robots are black and yellow. It all matches. It's much more like a organization, industry would be, should be. And so we've got that fixed. So what we've done is taken down those chain link panels, which are basically dog kennel panels, and want to donate those because we went through and ensured that no one needed them here at State Fair. So that's the simple overview of that. And so it's my recommendation that the Board of Trustees approve the donation of State Fair Community College personal property that has been determined to no longer be needed by the college and is thus deemed surplus property. These items include 15 chain link fence panels that were initially used in the IEM lab area. The property will be donated to Retrieving Freedom to be used for dog kennels. And I'd like to also annotate on there, thanks to Mary and the foundation for helping negotiate this. We wanted to use our community partnerships and stuff. So I'll shout out to Mary as well for actually doing all the legwork on the donation and being good community members.
I want to ask the question. I know you already looked into it. I don't know that. I'm assuming you always do. there's no legality issues, so we have to sell, we can donate. for-
Yes,
for-
this is what our policy, we've done the last couple board members, we're following everything as we're supposed to.
Our policy allows us to sell or give away
And
surplus.
And we went through a process through facilities, we've all had say in whether this could be needed, should be used, otherwise it's just gonna be stored
Yeah,
somewhere.
I figured you had, I just wanted
We
to ask.
felt overall it was a better use for the community as a
Sure.
station, and especially with.
The Department of Defense has started doing that with law enforcement back in
Yes,
the
sir.
early nineties, so it's a win-win for
Yes,
both
sir.
entities, so.
Motion to approve. Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. Keith, looks like you're back up maybe, or with the resolution approving a project to be financed.
Next, on the agenda is a resolution for you to approve to finance the proceeds. To basically approve the financing of the student resident hall with certificate of participation. We discussed this in the open session. I won't read through the entire resolution here.
I was ready for this.
Well, you-
Well, after
You
taking-
will, I don't- Yeah, that's right. Yeah, right. But to summarize, to summarize, with the help of Columbia Capital, with the legal assistance of Gilmore and Bell, financial underwriting of Piper Sandler, we are requesting the resolution be that we select Central Bank of the Midwest as our financial partner, and ask your authorization to proceed with that financing by negotiating with them for the appropriate closing documents to do so. And then upon having those closing documents done, we bring them back to you for your final approval.
Second.
Any other questions or discussion?
I think we had a excellent presentation during the work session where we were able to ask questions, have our questions answered there.
Thank you.
And in closing, I want to thank not only Columbia Capital, but Piper Sandler, Gilmore Bell. They put in a lot of work and help, and it's worked paying out very well. So we have very good partners.
I will echo that. I appreciate everybody's hard work in this. This is a definitely needed project. So thank you to Adam and your team and Ethan, everybody that went into this project.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you so much for all involved. Keith, you're still up. So hospital changer 8 station.
So I want to give a little background here. In November, you approved purchase of, you call some Truett 8-changer stations for the machining stations. Was to buy, I believe, 8 of those. When Mr. Raymer went in to buy those, Haas would not accept the proposal. They never did. They said that had been a mistake, it was an error, and they would not honor that proposal. We went through a number of discussions with that, and to no avail. We have a building full of Haas equipment, as you know, support come in. So after discussion, Eric has come back and he still needs to buy these particular pieces of equipment. What they have agreed to is what's on the board in your packet. Is not as many of the hospital tourists as he had previously. In fact, about half as many, but it is what that he can get. That is the best explanation I will give to you. So what he is asking, that's me to recommend, and I will support him in this. What we're recommending that you approve now the sole source purchase of 3 hospital changer 8-station Truetts for the price of $41,310 from the Haas factory outfit from these will help expand the training capabilities of our existing T1 tool lays. Their funding in this will actually be 73% enhancement grant, 28% SFCC. Reason it's 73 and 75 is he had requested the amount of money before, and we have to stay with the enhancement grant. So this is about 1,000 more than before, so we'll have to make that little 1,000 up. So it's right, it's from 75 to 72%. So that is the situation. He needs these. It's not as many as he wanted, but it's what he's asking that we approve this.
Question. If this is not the number he wanted. This is the number he can get. What impact is that going to be versus want versus the get? You know,
Yeah, that's a great question. We'll still be able to function. We will in the future have to purchase. This was part of the plan when we had the spend plan of, and then getting that quote, the expectation. We won't have a delta per se. We won't be short, you know, the students learning or anything. It won't be an ideal situation and repairing as many things like that and having to access to all the students. But we'll have a plan to add this the next year and try and purchase. Yes, because there's only so much, unfortunately, once you have that plan and those funds, you can't get more, you can't, if we did change, something else now. So he looked at this, and this is the best place, minimize and so forth. So no, if it were a full blown, we were gonna miss out on something, we would have given up something else somewhere. So no, I appreciate the question, sir, and it is, but Eric's fantastic looking at this. Ready.
So we'll try to get the other previous next year.
Yeah, we'll do, he will continue to add on. We have plans, you know, it's a continuous thing where parts, pieces, if you will, to add on to our capabilities as well as the maintenance side of it. So
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Does anybody else have any questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, Dr. Murders, academic program review.
And some slides, if you all want to see them up there. But as you know, we have an obligation annually to report to you all, but not only just report, but to, you want to put it in slide mode? Oh, I did. See. Obligation to report to you all on our program review, program viability, so you all know what's going on in the health of our program. So we're specifically, even though we do program review on more than just our academic programs, we do them student services, we work with the library and our other resources, we do them on our extended campuses. We'll kind of pretty much focus on our academics on this one. And so this, in short, this is just referring to the policy 6310, the regulation 6310, and actually regulation 6311 that says we're supposed to do all this, talk about our academic disciplines. And again, we're talking about the gen eds we've been talking about this morning, as well as our health science programs and our tech ed programs. And we'll look at their sustainability based upon what we call program viability. And then we'll look at the key measures of that determine whether we potentially could terminate or continue a program if it got to those type of places. But more importantly, this is part of our process improvement process that really looks at, the goal is how do we improve and enhance it? That's the big goal. And that's where we're going to be at. We're not looking at anything to terminate or anything like that. We're doing great. And of course, I want to make sure I don't forget, we don't evaluate new programs. So in health science, for instance, we have behavioral health and surgical tech. So even though we look at them, and Allison, she goes through a process with them, just much of the same process. We don't really in a position to look at viability yet, because it's just not, they haven't had enough time. And HVAC will be in that same position next year. So what is program viability? Basically, we have 3 key measures for the programs. And again, gen eds is slightly different than health science and tech ed, which we kind of put together. And so I just wanted to review what those are. And so again, we look at data across the past 3 years. So I'll have a note on one of the slides, but this is lagging data, meaning sometimes we know this stuff has been going on, but that's what we have to look at, is the past 3 data. So in tech ed and health sciences, these are the 3 measures: the credit hours to full-time equivalency. So how much are full-time folks taking? We look at revenue over expenses. Keith wants to know what it's costing us, right? And what we're making. And then, of course, placement rate. How, you know, the end goals, get them jobs, workforce development. On the other side, on the academic side, the first two are the same, but then the third one, we look at graduation and transfer rates. Because that's the goal of the AA degree and so forth, So what were the results? So we looked at 45 academic disciplines and programs, and I broke it out there. 19 different disciplines within Jim's area. So math is its own discipline, psychology, and so forth. 12 health sciences, 14 tech eds. And the way we calculate our viability, again, it's 2 out of 3 of those are green. 100% met that program viability thresholds. We also wanted to highlight that 100% looked at it in a way, we just don't look at a stoplight chart and go, hey, they're all green, they're all red, whatever, and move on. We look at these and look at the improvement planning. So every one of these programs has inputs on how to make it better, what aspects could enhance it, how do we continue our operations. And then from that, you've heard this many times, but Keith and Chip and I, we sit down with every program director, with the deans, with division chairs, and we go through the budget. We look at operational things, but it really goes into more of what do you need for that next. And as we talked about earlier, you saw the charts in the work session of all, that's where these things come from. These are things that each one of us in the programs, and that includes mine. I do a program review over academics and do the same thing. So people, resources, it's our wish list, and then how do we help you do that? So they've actually done a review, I call it strategy, but an annual strategy, and then how do we improve? So what did I find from this? The best way I could look at some of the things, again, we're looking at data that is 3 years of data, but it's previous data. So we kind of understand there's a downtrend in enrollment. And I will say this too, and the deans, if I speak out of place, they can correct me. But for instance, when Jim sees a downtrend in enrollment in gen eds, typically a lot of the programs like Allison's, you might not see that downtrend till the next year because they're getting in. So sometimes these trends are even different in the different areas. So that's why we have to look at them differently too. Even nursing had a little bit of downtrend in enrollment and so forth. So, and we kind of know it's coming and you know those things, but it's still important. We need to look at it and see when that trend pops back up. As an institution, today we know we're on an upswing, but again, program review, we're looking at a little bit lagging data and we hope we know what's coming and we can look at that. Another one is full-time students are taking fewer credit hours. Why? And those type of things. So it gives us things to look into. I put it up here as a 180 day follow-up, but really that's our placement. Following up with our students, things like that. We need some improvement in that area. Health science does a really good job, but a lot of our tech eds, we can do better in some of the other ones and so forth. So that's something we're working on. And because we need to know that placement rate for a lot of other reasons. And again, I just wanted to, again, lagging indicators, very common though, doing these type of things. When you're looking at academic cycles, it takes a while to make these changes. So it's just kind of a natural thing, but understanding that and seeing where we're going to go is important. So what actions are we taking from this? There's a whole purpose to doing process review and everything. So the first one is we're actually going to do a review of our program review. So we're looking into it, looking at things like the key measures that we have. I listed those 3, but how do we get those? The data integrity of those. We're looking at some of that. Haley's in here. She's actually, we talked about her looking at assessment committee. That's another piece. She's kind of reinvigorating and we want to do assessment across the institution better. Gen Ed's really good. There's other areas, health science. We have good areas, but how can we do it as an institution? And she's one of the leads on that for us. So we also want to improve the calculations for revenue over expenses. This is something Keith is sitting down, we use that as a measurement, but is all of our budget data, like we talked about, some things come from grants and some things come from here. Are we really capturing it correctly so we can do a good look? So that's another challenge. It's on our list to do. Simplify and automate some features. So with the process, we're hoping to make it easier on folks, and through a transition, it tends to be a little more than it is simple, but that's our goal. So even reporting for all the way to this level, we want it to be easier. So hopefully, instead of me presenting you slides, I'm hoping one day pop it up and show you a little bit more. I know Dr. Bates used to do that a little bit. We kind of went through some changes. It's not quite as friendly at this point. So, but we want to make it simpler for our faculty. We want to make it easier. The deans are having, and division chairs, deans have an input to what we're doing. So what's important for Jim and Allison? What do they need to see? And then what do I need to see? And then if Dr. Bates wants to see something, is there anything? And then of course, you all are stakeholder. What do you want to see? So again, we're looking at how to do that. And that's kind of in the improved reporting. A second thing that came out of this, we're looking at course scheduling. It's tied to this. We were working on it, but it is something that came out of when we offer courses and things like that. We've talked about that in here. Deans are very much involved. The division chairs are very much involved. And I put up there we're zero-based. What I mean by that is much like sometimes you'll see in a budget, zero-based. You start from scratch, like piece of paper. And we're starting from, we roll courses. We've been doing this forever. Let's stop and start over. Let's look at how we could build for fall 2024, where we should offer them, what we could do differently. If we're doing it right, we'll put it back on there. But if it makes us stop, think from a student-centered perspective, we stop to think how we could relate. And I'll say so far, I'm very happy with the relationship, interrelation, especially, again, we were talking about how important Gen Ed is. They're involved, maybe in their eyes, unfortunately, but they're involved from the start to finish because we started with health science. Well, what Gen Ed support health science? And we start with tech ed, what Gen Ed support that? Then we put Gen Eds on. So Gen Eds have been in throughout it. So as we iterated tonight, their importance as well, that's highlighted in the course scheduling. And then of course, recruiting strategies, we're always saying that, but we see we need to work on those, how it affects our placement rates, those type of things. Maybe one day we'll have when we're further down the road, but Dr. Porter, obviously with her leadership, has got an enrollment management committee that's not her folks. It's college representatives. So we're looking at it from the holistic view of how do we all are responsible for enrollment, but how do they gonna make that happen? So I'm sure we'll report on that one day. And then, of course, we know that career services is something, again, with placement that we need to work on. It's in our strategic plan. It's on your placements, I believe, and it continues to come up. So that's another thing that's that's came out of this into the budget, into our FAST goals and development and so forth. So program review ties very much into all our budget discussions and strategic discussions. So that's kind of the high points. I guess I left one off, but we're looking at, kind of goes with that. It's also investigating the completion transfer data. That's one of the areas that, although transfer, we know we're good at this. For whatever reason, when we compare to other schools, the way they report data and we report data, it's like apples and oranges. So we need to figure out why we have those differences. And so but we also want to figure out, again, are we completing in the 2-year time frame? Are we like everyone else is reporting, which goes back to course scheduling and some of the other things. So we've got a lot of actions taken and a lot of things on our plate. But program review obviously is a critical tool that we use for this. So any questions?
I want to thank you for your leadership on program review and really throughout the whole institution. It does take a tremendous amount of resources and work to do, but it results in better decisions, more informed decisions. And I look forward to the improvements we made in that process.
I had a good start.
Yeah.
Base left me with something pretty good.
It's evaluation time.
Good job, good job. I appreciate the teamwork that, we hear over and over, that just like the
And it's hard to, like Kaylee's trying to thank everybody. You can't remember everybody, but we have a team looking at this that just keeps growing. Becky Rose and Tammy Montgomery and some others in IT. We have IR, Judy and Sean, and they're making this dream team, if you will, to kind of oversee some things, but then they're pulling in the assessment committee, and then they're pulling in the division chairs. The deans have been huge in this, so that we can never, this is very, very collaborative efforts that are going on. So I'm very proud of what's going on in the efforts. Again, we had a good foundation and they're running with it to help faculty and do better quality teaching and assessment. And that's really good.
We'll let all know we appreciate them.
Thank you.
Hey, Dr. Bates, notice of trustee elections.
It's informational item only. December 26th was the close of the window for declaring candidacy for the 2 open positions in the April 2024 election for the Board of Trustees. We have 2 positions open, both 6-year terms, and we have 3 candidates for those: Ms. Patricia Wood, Dr. Page, and Steve Bliss. So
I missed it.
So we will be recognizing Tom at a later date for his service to the college, and his picture will go up on the Hall of Fame. And
I get my own wall over here. I get my stuff.
Hey, we're talking about a different wall, but
Sort that in at the bottom. I could have sent this room over here. No, it's in that corner by Allison.
Yeah, that's actually good for it. I put this in the room over here.
Dr. Bates on the state and federal advocacy.
One important role of the board and of the president is advocacy for the State Fair Community College. And we have 2 trustees attending the American Association of Community College Trustees Legislative Summit in Washington, D.C. In February, 1st of February, Justin and Patty. And the ACCT has released their legislative priorities, and I've included them in the board packet in item 15. And so there was a webinar last week on these priorities, and some of you attended that webinar. I attended as well. Many of the issues that we discussed and identified as priorities last year are still on the ticket. For instance, at the top of the page is the short-term Pell. That's providing, that was one of our priorities last year, and that's providing Pell grants for short-term training programs and even potentially even non-credit training programs. So there are still some proposals around the Pell grant. The rest of, it's things that are important to us. Continuing funding for the TRIO programs. We have 2 TRIO programs on campus, SAS and Upward Bound. Funding for federal work study, funding for federal financial aid for Pell grants, increasing the Pell grant. All of those items are on the list. The other priority for us last year was support for adding job training in the Farm Bill. And the Farm Bill, which has expired, was temporarily extended through this summer. So there's still work on the Farm Bill. We work with there's an organization with rural community colleges that has a lobbyist that's working on this amendment to the Farm Bill. I was in contact with him, Mr. Downs, last week, and he provided me the update, which I included in the packet. So they've added some sponsors for that, Drop Training Act, and are still pushing heavily for that. You know, the items that we advocated for last year are still on the block. We want to add other things to advocate for or continue to push for those items.
I think the short-term Pell and the ag technology workforce are still the main priorities that for state fair. I think they sort of stand out from the other, maintaining the trio. That seems to be sort of a rollover given. So the things, I think the main focus of advocacy is to talk about the need for the short-term Pell, because we, in our budget discussion, we even broached that topic in that who would the tuition increase most adversely affect, and it was our short-term program students who aren't Pell eligible. So those are I think those continue to be two priorities.
And if it's anything like last year, you'll be in the room with other community colleges, pretty packed in there. If you get the chance to speak, it'll probably be only for 30 seconds to a minute. So be strong, be loud, have your good bullet points and elevator speech to hit home that what State Fair actually needs.
I'll point out that you're familiar with our service report. Brad and his team have updated the service report to include federal advocacy and updated the state advocacy. So if you look on pages 30 and 31, you can see some of those those priority areas from ACCT at the top, and STAR, Strengthen, Transform, Award, and Remove. That was the creativity of our marketing and communications director, Brandon. So, when in doubt, we go with the STAR at State Fair Community College. And then at the bottom of the page, you can see some actual federal expenditures for the college. So our apprenticeship grant we spoke about earlier we're at the end of that grant. TRIO, support services, Upward Bound, those two grants are listed there, the NSF grant. And then the Perkins funding, and that's all lumped together. That's the enhancement grant you talked about. That's federal pass-through dollars, passes through the state. And so we get about $1.25 million in Perkins funding passed through from the feds to the state. So that's an important program for us. Quite frankly, we wouldn't be able to do what we do with our technical programs without that Perkins fund. So this would be a nice giveaway for us.
Are we taking some to
Yeah, I
do?
was gonna say, is this going to be the packet, or is there going to be a more condensed version of it? Or is this going to be?
This is what we're
Yeah,
getting,
like we
but
did last year.
Yeah, limited numbers. I will say we have appointments with Mark Alford, and we also have appointments with MCCA in a group with Senator Hawley's staff, and we're meeting with Senator Schmidt, and we are also meeting with some legislative aides for both Schmidt and Alford. So. And we also are working on some independent meetings with some people in the Department of Agriculture to explore ways that the Department of Agriculture can support our ag programs and see what grants are available out there and that kind of thing. So we're having a special meeting with them.
Did we add a sheet last year that highlighted a few of the items that we stand with ACCT with?
The ACCT has a one-pager called the Green
I didn't
Sheet.
know if we added.
We will have copies of that when we get there.
Okay.
Yep. Also on the federal advocacy, Brad updated the state advocacy page. We do have appointments with our local legislators in our 14 county region at the end of February and at the end of March. I have a tentative agenda that I'll share with you in the Friday note that Joanne finalized today. We added the House Bill 2310 and Senate Bill 1075 that Jamie spoke about. I was asked to testify on behalf of that bill Tuesday, and I testified in front of the General Laws Committee, where the House is sort of sending all new legislation through. And so I testified on support of House Bill 2310, which would create a guaranteed transfer for 60 credit hours of community college lower level, 100, 200 level courses, the general ed classes plus major classes by career path, by discipline pathway. So this would create a impetus from the state to do this. Faculty would get together and develop those pathways, and those classes in that will transfer whether or not you're going to UCM or Southwest Missouri State or NU. So it would be very positive for our students right now if that could be done. Right now, we have great relationships with UCM, with our regional partners, Lincoln University. If a student starts here and says, I'm going to go to UCM and I'm going to study English, we will connect our English navigator with their advisor, develop a pathway, and that'll work seamlessly. But a lot of our students don't know when they come where they're going to go or what they're going to study or change their mind. So if anyone changes their mind or declares a new area, then it's up for grabs. They need to be going down a pathway and take classes that they think are going to transfer, and they decide to go to a different institution, and those classes may not be the right classes for that institution to transfer. Or in some cases, as Kaylee pointed out, classes will transfer but don't apply to a degree. So it ends up our students have to take more than 120 hours for a bachelor's degree to complete the bachelor's degree.
So they'll be transferring without a degree from Stanford.
In this new program, the incentive is for students to complete the associate's degree.
It should be an incentive to go ahead and get the associate's degree.
It was back when I went to school, was when I talked to the representative of the senior year. And they proposed you have the degree, we'll take everything. But if you don't, we're going to pick and choose.
That's pretty common. All of the associate degree classes transfer, but again, they don't all apply to the group degree. So that's
Some you'd have to apply to.
So the key part of this is it'll make all the classes apply to the degree. And it'll decrease time to graduate for our transfer students. That's good. Any questions on that?
Excellent resource. Can be used so many places.
We'll have to explain it. Develop strategy on it. I know that MCCA was a 5% increase in core funding, and the governor's budget came out at 3%.
Right.
So
we'll still be working on trying to get 5%, through the legislature. The MCCA does have a one-pager on their priorities. I included that in the packet. And I also included a letter that we are sending in reference to the multiple bills proposing property tax reductions, and just expressing that that's an important source of revenue for the college, and that we urge people to keep that in mind as they make decisions on that.
That's a stupid question in regards to the service report. On the financial aid part, the A+ paid, that's the dollar we paid for that county?
Yep.
I'll make sure I had it right, so I didn't miss it too.
Yeah. This has been a wonderful resource that I met last week with the Pettis County Commissioners. I talked specifically about what's going on in Pettis County, and they were very appreciative of the data.
I like the scanning feature.
We keep grabbing his crew on his toes and their toes, don't we?
Is there a suggestion box?
You have to scan it.
I'd scan it. Good job, Brad. This is nice.
President's report?
We're ready.
All right, so again, I'm asking others to help me with the president's report. Dr. Murders is actually asking someone to help him on the spring enrollment report, so. I got to-
You don't get the varsity or the JV.
You get the person who really.
You get the one that really knows.
You're getting from the real source.
Yes, we bring in the expert.
Right, I know, we are running into the evening, so my intent is to hit the high points, and then we can talk about what we can talk about, and, finish up the rest of the president's reports. I want to make that.
Down here.
I got you right here, look at that.
He's no freshman.
There you go. So I wanted to show you the image that I shared with all of, my staff and ELT on the first day of classes. This is what causes tremendous amount of anxiety, high blood pressure, and probably drinking if we're going to about it at certain parts of the college. When we looked at this earlier, and because of the changes we made to the admissions process, so trying to separate out admissions and enrollment, two completely separate things, we were able to move students closer to ready to enroll for classes sooner by monitoring the workload of our navigators, by engaging other people on campus. We were able to get people enrolled faster than we have in previous semesters and previous academic years. At one point in time, that total head count was like 35% up. I'm like, it's trash, it's not real, don't look at it until it all bounces back out, right? It will eventually slow back down. So the first day of classes we were, and that is not an official number. You will likely hear from Darcy and Judy Riney later in the semester. The actual official enrollment data is captured at our census date, which is about 20 days after the start of the semester. The little green line that you can see in our future, right, is census. We take a snapshot the first day of classes. We take a snapshot at the end of the 100% drop period where they can decide, this isn't for me and it doesn't count against this, right? So we did have, we are ahead of previous year. Actually, we're ahead of all previous years at this point, dating back to 2019. So spring, stepping into spring in 2020, we had just shy of 3,800 students, and right now we're at 3,400.
Here, the yellow one.
So as of today, going back, and we capture the data at midnight. So as of midnight last night, the increase is actually 9.1%. So you know we have natural drop the first week of classes, and there's some panic about whether or not they can do this. And we've also see an uptick in 12-week enrollment, 12-week classes. People who have made a commitment and now want second 8-week classes. A lot of our dual credit classes don't start till next Monday. So there's a little bit of an increase. They'll have a drop the first few days of classes and then it increases. Again, focusing on the fact that enrollment is talking about the students who are registered in classes, not necessarily people who have filled out admissions applications that aren't here yet, right? So we're just focusing on the people that are a filled seat in a classroom or in an online environment. What might be fun to know about who is enrolled right now, they're also, the increase in credit hours is what's important when it comes to budgets. So we can get super excited about the number of people that are an increase in enrollment, but it only matters if they've actually enrolled in classes because that's what pays tuition, fees, books, things are what we count on for revenue. The average age of our students right now is 21. That's an average, right? So there are a few much older folks that skew that. The actual greatest portion of our population are 18 years old. And that could be straddling the line between first-time traditional college students and our dual credit population. The largest bump in age ranges was the under 17 crowd, right? We saw a dramatic increase, 11% increase in students who are in dual credit or in those high school programs. The second largest bump, though, which was encouraging, is the age group 24 to 34. So more of our non-traditional students, more of our technical education people coming back, right? To be honest with you, our single largest age category is that traditional college student, 18 to 24. So no one even gets close to that group, but knowing that there was an increase, at least in some of the other non-traditional age groups, helps a ton. The largest growth by location, again, was our dual credit and our high school enrollment. So that is both a interesting head nodding, poses several other challenges that we have to address as an institution. And then the online campus showed a tremendous amount of growth as well. The extended campuses saw small dips in their head count. So a 10% decline at Boonville may actually be 11 students, right? So there's still a small percentage decrease in everything but Whiteman. However, the credit hours those students enrolled in outpaced that decline in head count. So Clinton, for instance, had an 8% decline in enrollment, but a 2% bump in credit hours. So even though they have fewer students, right, they are doing a much better job of pushing those students to connect in a full-time capacity. You can also see we're 2/3 women. We're more than half part-time students. And then 75% of our population, 71% of our population are Missouri residents, right? So because our in-district area is only 2 counties, and you can add up every graduating high school class in Benton County, and you're not going to get, we're doing a good job of pulling those kids in terms of like our market share. We have somewhere between 17 and 18% of the high school graduates in our area, and the goal has always been 15, 16. Our biggest population of the folks are outside of our district boundaries. Thinking making an hour or 2 drive to school once or twice a week, or the ones who will require housing on campus in order to fully participate in their programs. Another piece to just kind of share with you about what our students have enrolled in, and my little graph didn't work for the kinds of programs. So fall to spring retention right now for credit students who are degree seeking, right? So not visiting students, not high school kids, just our total degree seeking population. Our retention from fall to spring is right now sitting at 76%. That feels like a huge relief where I stand. But man, there's a lot more work that has to be done, right? That's good, but it's not as good as we would like it. Right now, the spring population, those students identify themselves, right? Not necessarily the classes they're enrolled in, but how they identify themselves, are 38% health sciences, pursuing a health science degree, or they're pre-health science. So they may have declared that they're headed towards nursing and they're in an English course in A&P. Those aren't exactly nursing classes, but they'll fall into that bucket. 30% of them are the gen ed, those transfer students, anybody that's working on an AA, an AAT, or an AS that's heading on to another institution after they leave state fair. And then 31% are career and tech ed. I will tell you, in the years, I don't have a ton of years to pull from, but in the time that I've been here, those have been almost equally thirds. So it's interesting to see kind of the table turn a little bit towards more of the career education, both in health sciences and career and tech ed. And right now we have 70 people that have already applied for graduation in May. Like, it's January, y'all. Slow down. It's fine. Like, we have people in place ready to take care of that. But then just so that you know, where we take all of those folks out of our retention numbers for next fall. When they graduate, they don't count anymore. We're just moving forward with the people that we're hanging on to moving towards graduation. A little bit about the enrollment process. In order for a student to enroll in classes that has never been a state fair student before, right? Brand new, right out of high school, right into the institution, even as an adult, they're required to enroll with a navigator. So until you have accrued 12 credit hours at state fair, you have to sit down with the navigator to actually enroll in classes. And they're not just enrollment clerks. Those are our academic advisors. Those are the frontline making referrals to students for on-campus and off-campus resources. They are troubleshooting and helping plan. We only looked at the enrollment period, right? So the middle of October, because we do carve out a week or so just for student athletes, right? So middle of October until classes started in January. 3-month window minus Christmas, you're looking at 2,800 appointments that students made with navigators. 167 appointments per navigator. That's 2,000 hours that they've spent just trying to plan. And sometimes it's plan and talk about how are you going to pay for it. Sometimes it's plan and then you change your mind and we're going to plan again. All right, I planned and I dropped and I'm coming back. So that's the amount of time that's invested in getting students moving towards enrollment for this semester.
So can I ask a quick, I know this is a loaded question, but I'm
Yes,
gonna
sir.
ask it anyway.
Bring it.
So when you look at the 167 per navigator, the workload is a lot for a navigator?
During the
Right
enrollment period, it's a lot. But it doesn't reflect, that's not reflective of the entire academic year, right? We know, and I'll share with you in a second, one of the conversations we had with our most recent business process analysis. We understand that we burn those folks up probably 2 months a year. We need to work on it because it does have an impact on, if you're looking at student satisfaction, if you're looking at employee satisfaction, there's an opportunity for error when you're finishing up everything at 10 o'clock at night from your couch. So the distance between fall and spring is very short, and there's a lot to cram in there, but yeah, we know that that's a problem.
You have to do better than that to trip her up.
I knew she, but it's a loaded question, like, do we need more people, you know, or, you know, of course, yes, is the
I
answer.
don't know that we need more people. We need to do things smarter, more efficient, right? There are tons of other hands on campus that can help with certain things.
Sure.
I'll also share with you just in terms of improving our enrollment process and kind of what we're working towards for the fall. We did enter into another business process analysis, just like we did with the admissions process. I told Dr. Bates I hated every minute of it and couldn't wait for us to write a check to do it again, right? It is a painful experience for everybody in the room, but it's important. The BPA that we just had consultants from the University of Arkansas, Fort Smith, come and walk a day and a half through a BPA process with our Enrollment Management Council. And we tried to identify, we looked at the process, we looked at where the bottlenecks are, we looked at our inputs and our outputs and all of the things that's associated with that. And there are 4 primary projects that we are now tackling a little at a time. You probably won't see the impact of that until this time next year, right? So we have to spend a lot of time reviewing and pulling apart our policies. There may be things that we've had as part of our operations for years and years and years that don't fit anymore. And that's hard to let go of. It's one of those things that we've always done it that way. Oh, is that the right way to do it though? We need to spend a lot of time looking at the holds we put on students' accounts. That notion that something magical happens after you get your 12th credit hour, that you no longer need a navigator, doesn't necessarily fit anymore, right? There is value in spending time with the navigator. There may not be as much value in holding someone hostage until they get to that 12 credit hour mark. Or there could be other people on campus who are suited to do advising for someone who has 6, 9 credit hours under their belt. They just haven't gotten to that 12 point. So those are things that we're going to play with. Also aligning some of the dates and deadlines. You can only enroll in classes if you know what classes are offered. And if that's only released a week before enrollment starts, therein creates a bottleneck, right? So is there a way to make the schedule available sooner? Is there a way to go back to tiering our enrollment? We did that for years and years and years, and we took that away 2015, 2016, and just made it like a shotgun start when enrollment opens. Are some of those things a better use of everyone's time and energy to make an impact on this going forward? Dr. Murders, and expanding the use of the student degree planner. A piece of Elution software that we have been spending a year or so building and putting in place allows students to sit down with an advisor, right now it's with their navigator, and plan out every class they're going to have, and they can see it in a linear image, so that this semester and the next semester, and if you don't pass or if something happens, you can't get in that class, you can just drag and drop it to the next one, but you can actually see how long it's going to take, right? And it makes sense what you have to have. You may need a summer, you may not need a summer. But that's been incredibly helpful for the navigators have been able to use that sitting down with students right now. All new students will have one. We've been kind of backfilling the people we can work with during this enrollment cycle that don't have one yet. People that are rolling towards graduation, they're fine, right? They're enrolling classes. There's no need to have a degree plan because you're leaving in May. Dr. Murders kind of touched on what that plan might look like when you're working with another college or university. So eventually, we will be able to show students what that looks like on the back end of their degree plan here. Dr. Murders touched on the zero-based student-centered scheduling, having faculty kind of rethink how their schedules should fit together and can fit together. Maybe the growth that we have in online classes is because that's what we pushed folks towards. Maybe not, right? Maybe not. But it's hard to know until we get back in and experiment a little bit. And there's a little bit of risk involved in all of that people have, myself included, have to have a growing tolerance for. We're working to get more people on campus, so that we can have this conversation and it'd be a pleasant one again next fall. Right now, across all of our campus locations, we are slated to see 4,000 potential student visitors. We only count them as a potential student visitor if they're in high school or older, right? Love the third graders, not the counts, right? Love the little bitty ones that went to the youth production, they don't count. The branch campus locations alone are hosting events, either on a regular basis or special events in their community that will drive 800 people to our campus. So it's going to be a very, very, very busy semester. And then we're going to continue to monitor the efficiency of the application process. And I shared the outcome of that with you a few months ago. At the moment, we are about halfway to the number of actual applications and admitted students that we had at census last fall. So we are ahead of pace. At the moment, there are 603 people who are just waiting for us to let them enroll in classes on April 2nd. So we're moving a lot of those people through faster, a little more efficiently, and hope to have another big impact in the fall. I think that was it. That was next week. What kind of questions can I answer for you? Tim Parr, what you got?
I have a question for you.
Fire away.
You were talking about how you're working toward or looking toward, or there's people that are available to lessen the burden on the front side, the front end for our navigators. Is that in place, or is that just something we're still?
No, that's one of those problems, one of those projects that we're gonna take on as the BPA. And it's not that enrolling students is a burden, right? Shame on me for using that language. It's the data entry, clicking buttons to finish enrollment that other people could probably help with.
Right.
The navigator's expertise is not in clicking buttons, it's in the great relationship building and the academic advising. Are there other people that can take those plans and do the data entry if it's necessary? Or there may be students who are more apt in certain academic programs to sit down with a faculty member. Towards the end of their program, we start talking about transfer. That might be a better use of the advising time and leaving brand new students who have to learn the technology and Starfish and Canvas with the navigator. There are a ton of different things that we could play with, but that's one of the projects that we've taken on for the next year is to identify what might work.
So that's a year project?
We're going to do the same thing we did with the admissions BPA. We're going to stop and measure in chunks.
It's one of our strategic focus areas in the strategic.
I didn't read your.
Yep.
I'll go straight to the.
Right?
No,
No, but we'll know in 90-day chunks. How are we doing? Right? Is this helpful? Is it not helpful? How can we
It
adjust?
makes a tremendous amount of sense.
And she mentioned the tool, degree planning, things like that. If we teach the students to fish.
Yes, then they can do it.
So and it's a tool that really works for them, and we feel confident that they're being served without data entry. They're doing their own, almost like shopping cart. My classes are here, I'm on schedule, let me just add them.
Right, let's go.
That type of mentality. It's not quite that robust,
There's
but
some
it's,
technical pieces that we could absolutely use
that's
when
where
we
we're
get there.
moving to. So it might even be more than, I don't want to tell you it will be a year, but,
No, that's fine. I was just
but
curious.
we see this as the development of it going down for the next,
You know, I mean, not
Nope.
we used to, well, what's we? You know.
We don't make them carry around
Yeah,
index
yeah,
cards
I
with them anymore. I was part of that generation.
I filled my crayon, so I was ready to go to school. But anyway, we started out, we met with our counselor, we met with our advisor, and they filled out our initial projection as far as where we were going to go with our degree. And then by the second year, we were pretty much picking and choosing what we knew we need because we still had the paperwork showing what we were told we needed. So it sounds like you're wanting to work smarter.
Yes.
And provide better services to what I'm hearing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we know where the bottlenecks are. right? Well, I'll print t-shirts and have little stick 'em tattoos if you want them. I can show you exactly, like, we feel comfortable that we know where we can improve. And it's a matter of laying it all out, tackling it one step at a time, and then measuring the progress that it's making.
So you're going at it with a deliberate mindset, so you're not have to switch everything around because, oh, that didn't work well.
We may still switch things. We're gonna,
That's okay, though.
right, there's a
But-
test.
but-
There's a plan, do,
Right.
study, adjust, right? That's the approach we're
By
doing.
God, it's gonna be this way from this point forward, that's not going to be.
No.
Okay.
No, it's not an all or nothing.
No.
Yes, sir.
I think so.
How do we capture student feedback in this process? Just curious. Do we give them an outlet for that? Do we capture that
For
in
the
any?
enrollment process,
Mhm.
I think that's a great question, and I don't know that we asked them. There are a few surveys that the college employees across the entire institution that ask a little bit of information about how they feel about their advisor, the availability of their advisor, the expertise of their advisor, but not the process itself. The only real data we have right now is when someone completely withdraws, right? They completely step away from the semester altogether. We ask them why. And there's a group of folks that have been looking at that 4 or 5 years worth of data and hope to be able to share some of that with you at this point, later on the semester as well. So no, we don't have clear information from students about the actual enrollment process.
Yeah. It's just, I guess the thought there was you talked about, we know what the bottlenecks are, but are they telling us what maybe a bottleneck they thought was?
Everyone has an anecdotal story or two about this one student that said this one thing, but we don't have anything that is substantial and collective across all student categories. Be value in that,
I mean, number one is focus the students, right?
right? The
What are they
project,
telling us? And I
the
guess that's.
project that Cameron mentioned, that she's working on with Dr. Brosh and a group of us, we're asking students, what was the best class you've had at State Fair? What made it the best? What's the worst experience you had? What made it worse? So there's some of those things that we expect to be able to apply, not just in the enrollment process, but across the institution.
Can't fix a weakness if you don't know.
You don't know, or you make lots of assumptions about it, right?
Right. Thank you.
The intentionality that has been directed towards enrollment, admission, and recruitment of students that in the 4 years I've been on the board, I think, that we have made advancements in all those areas.
Largest increase since 2019, thanks to these works of these. people.
Well, and I guess
Hanging on to them, the retaining them is where the work shifts now.
the passion, I guess, I see from you guys and the team, and it's probably the highest I've seen in a while. So kudos to everybody.
I'll go back to that, your question you asked too.
Yeah.
What makes it hard is students don't know what's good and bad. I mean, they know if it's good, just like but they haven't experienced and their parents haven't experienced some of the first gen stuff. So Dr. Porter also utilizes consultants. We've used EAB. We've done other things to try and get sort of that student perspective without just our own.
Right.
So there are some other, I just want to highlight these. We're trying to do some other ways of gaining insight to the
Kind of
student.
validating the path we're taking.
Yeah, very good. Thank you.
Thank you for how much you care. Yes, thank you.
Next,
Give you a little side note. Who's
Yes,
the
sir.
only one tonight that's pronounced Allison's last name correctly?
Oh.
So kudos to you for that.
And she promoted.
Hey.
She's
already- I missed
she's
that.
already asked God for her raise. I heard her.
Dr. Motors. Scholarship program. You have the handout at your desk.
Yeah.
This is what he's gonna.
The handout's not the best, but that's what they have and out there. So one of the things we look at, a little background, is we're always looking at how can we get our folks more education? There's limits, right? We offer the associate's degree. We have ways to get in a bachelor's degree. And we have some partnerships even to get a master's. But where this sort of came from was others like Dr. Brosh asking for, how do I get a doctorate for my other folks? And because that's one, it's very expensive. It's hard to, right? It's very expensive, but how do you get that? So that's where this came from. This is much more than that. So we started looking at opportunities, did investigation. Allison was big in my ear about, hey, there's this program called tuition exchange. Yeah, sounds good. Okay, so I kept pushing her away, and she kept saying, hey, listen to me. And then I was looking at other ways to do the same thing. And then I did a visit at Central Methodist, and Rita, you know, the provost there, she's like, hey, we do this. I've been telling your folks, why don't they do that? Allison should know this. I went, all right, I better listen to Allison. So I looked into it, told her I would. And we looked into this, and it has some opportunities. And so we dove into it and showed everybody. And so we decided to do this. And so what this is called tuition exchange. And it's exactly what it sounds like. I could probably walk away and you get the gist of it just from the name. But it's a company. And what they do is they organize this big consortium of schools. And so it is a reciprocal scholarship program or opportunity for faculty, staff and their dependents. And there's 700 plus schools involved in this. They're private and public nonprofit colleges and universities. They're across 47 states, DC, and even internationally. So any school that has a degree. So you're within this consortium, and it's an exchange program. We offer a scholarship, they have scholarships, and you can trade and get people in and out of them. So there's two parts to it. You're eligible people that can get scholarships from the other schools, and people who want to come to your school and get scholarships. Now, I will say we're the first public two-year college in this program. And so I know you're going to ask why in a minute, and hopefully I'll get there as well. But just to finish up is, this is, I told you, is eligible to our employees, our eligible employees. And what's interesting about that is it's how we determine eligible employees, people who would get it. So it's a big HR, Scott's not back there now, but there's an HR piece to this and all the dependents of our folks. So it's more than just our, it's opened it up to dependents, spouse, partners, or employee children. And so the employee school defines, we get to define what that eligible employee is. And we really highlight that tuition exchange is not a benefit, because how it works is it's a scholarship opportunity. So she's not quite Dr. Brosh, but if she wants to become Dr. Brosh and go through this program, she still has to apply to one of the schools that is in this program and get into the program. Nothing's automatic. And then she tells us, hey, can I go through tuition exchange? And Scott says, hey, you're a good enough employee to do it. And you've been meeting criteria, whatever criteria we want. So we put her on the list and send it through. And the school still has to accept and determine how many people they take and all that. So the more prestigious schools, you know, they have higher criteria, but it's on the member to apply, get in, and then we attempt to see if they will exchange and potentially get into a program. Again, there's very few doctorate programs, but there are some. Allison probably knows better than I do, because again, it was in my ear and pushing this. But there are a handful of doctorate programs, and so they pay up to tuition. They don't pay for a dissertation, which I just recently found out. So, but that's a tremendous benefit. But what it also has done is opened up to a lot of these other schools, a lot of private schools and so forth. Our employees can have access to either personally or for their children in the future. The kick to it is we pay an annual subscription fee of it's now $600. We had an initial fee of $350. For us, we thought that's very low risk. If this doesn't work out, we can cut out at any point, and then any person in it pays $50 to go. So that can be on the member, or the school can choose to do it. We're still working some of these. We're really just getting going. So there's two parts. We got the part of where our folks would go. That's the export. And then we got the part where people could come to us import. Why are we the only two-year school? Is ours is in comparison to a 4-year private, even CMU, the cost of that. A lot of people are, that gives it more motivation to go that. A lot of 2 years haven't joined, because their scholarships are not, ours is about $5,000 compared to potentially $43,000. So what are the students getting? So students would have to want to come here. Are we going to draw a lot of people outside our area with A+, fast track, all the other things? There's not a whole lot, but that doesn't prevent us from still exporting. So we saw this as a very low risk. We're willing to be the first ones and start it and work to give our folks, again, not a benefit, it's a scholarship opportunity, but that's kind of the gist of it. So there's more upside than there is downside on our part. The downside, and Scott's back, is the amount of work that it's gonna take from, he and I are the two liaison officers, is what they call them. You have to treat it as a scholarship. So at some point, I'm gonna turn it over to Dr. Porter's folks, because it's financial aid, it's scholarship based. And then that's the import, the people coming in, they gotta get admitted and all that. But the export part is an HR function, and so we're kind of doing that, and he's smart.
Allison's idea, it should be.
I'll just give her credit and leave that one alone. I appreciate Dr. Brush's input to make this all.
Is there any questions? It's a great program, strategic, focus on employees, another thing we're doing to.
In tuition costs here and tuition costs at the four-year institutions, it's a much more lucrative opportunity for our people than for the people we would be in for.
I should have said, they used to have a quota where you had to have so many before they would let you go out, and they've reduced that. So that's another reason we jumped on it. And another reason other schools have it, that's a very recent change. Many of them probably don't know that changed. So if that hadn't changed, it wouldn't have been any use to us to jump. We wouldn't have got enough people coming in to get the numbers out. And they eliminated that, and that was a huge selling point. Let's try this.
I have two more brief things. One is our calendar. I need to point out some things to make sure you're kind of alert to some important events that we have. February 4th through 7th is the Legislative Summit that I've already spoke about. On February 8th, the Sedalia Chamber of Commerce is doing a business after hours in our new Field and Technical Center HVAC robotics lab. That'll be a great event. I'd like to know which of the board members are going to go. You don't have to tell me now, but email that to me maybe tomorrow if you plan to attend that, so we can recognize you there. And we would like the president of the board or her appointee to do some welcome remarks.
That's the 8th.
5 to 7.
Kind of come and go, but we're going to try to do.
Yeah, I don't have that.
We're going to try and do some of the welcoming stuff early and have advisory board members and some other folks we need to
That's
thank.
Friday evening.
No.
It's a Thursday.
On February 12th, we have an open house at our new AEL site in Warsaw. That's at the Warsaw Community of Christ Church, and that is from 2 to 4. Open house, there will be some remarks made there, I'm sure. So we're looking forward to that. Homecoming is February 17th, Hilda Fred. It would be great if you were all there for the homecoming activities. We also have some alumni events scheduled that day. We're having a meeting with the distinguished alumni at noon, and we have an open house for all alumni in the afternoon. That communication is going to be coming out soon, but it'll be one of our first events to connect with alumni and start improving our database with our alumni. There's a Moving Forward Ag Forward event February 20th with Central Bank, and legislative visits are scheduled for the 28th of February and March 27th. The Foundation Gala is March 23rd. So, and then on the next page, June 23rd to the 27th is the Trustee and Executive Leadership Conference in Camden on the Lake. we asked for, if you thought you were going to attend that. We've heard from Richard. If others of you are going to attend that event, we said no. Registration's not open yet, but we want to be ready for that. Finally, this is added to the agenda. I got some great news today. As you know, we've expanded our nursing program at Clinton. And we've taken over the year one program from the Clinton Technical School. And we have hired some faculty and have some other program expenses that we did not anticipate in this year's budget. But it was a great opportunity. It was good for our program and good for the community. And so we went ahead and did that. But we also applied for some funds to cover the startup costs that we did not anticipate from the J.C. Smith Foundation. I have the privilege of knowing J.C. Smith. He's a Clinton community member who was instrumental in starting our campus in Clinton. He unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago, but left the foundation to support State Fair Community College and the hospital and training people into that area. So that foundation has committed today, they sent a check, maybe with Allison, I'm not for sure, but $134,188.62 to cover that startup cost for that program. So really appreciative of the JCC. Allison and
Gary Bigler.
Derek.
Gary Bigler and Peg, I've seen those two are huge with that foundation to even get it started, so.
Yeah.
That doctor's paying off. Good job, Allison.
All right, that's my report and their report. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Dr. Bates? Good, we'll move to financial report with Keith.
Wow, the really exciting stuff now, huh? On the financial report, really, there's nothing particular to point other than our financials remain on track for what I would want them to be this year. You'll note that tuition and fees are up substantially over the past 2 years, which is indicative of the enrollment increase and the changes we did here. So it's working as it's supposed to. And expense side is about where I expect. You see the bottom line differential has increased over the past couple of years. So at this point in time, we're all paced to be on budget and do have a bad financial year. I don't see any reason that would change going forward. Investment report. You'll see here some additional investments back in October and November when I was the market for 5 years out was fairly high. So I went and grabbed about $1.5 million worth of long-term CDs in the 4.95 range. I didn't want to do any more than that because I wasn't sure what our cash needs were going to be. If you look at these same rates now, they're about 3.9 to 3.95. So we got a little bit locked in for a long term, some good rates. I'm still getting 5.4% on the time deposits. Fed's still thinking, I think, higher for longer. So I think we'll be in the 5+ for at least the rest of this year. If they do a couple of rate cuts, we'll still be 5+ on our demand deposit. So probably look out maybe a year from now if we want to do something more long term. But I did lock a few in like that. So overall, we're getting overall 5 point, all blended together about a 5.3% return on cash. Our cash is down from this time last year for all the right reasons. For all the investments we made and continue to make in that. And we're at a point now where we're about what I like us being about 11 million in cash. I think that's a good place to be. I'd like to stay in that range overall. Anyway, that's that. I have the expenses that didn't come due. Had 3 purchases month in December in the reporting range. We have some tools for the HVAC class. Those were actually bought, I believe, with no amp monies. So that's budgeted. The dynamic controls, you can reclassify that as HVAC maintenance, which is most everything we do around here, I think. But had to have some controls went out and will be replaced. And then C&E excavating, which was under 25, so we need more. Before that, we did bid for that. It was the tree clearing and burning on the west side of campus, get ready for the construction.
Thank you.
All right, looks like we're ready for board discussion.
2 quick things. Appreciate the ELT notes coming out in the state fair this week. I found that very helpful in understanding what's going on and providing background so that when the presentations came in today, I've seen what's been going on. So I really appreciate that. Also, yes, when Governor Parson made his State of the State address, he included a section on workforce wins in the state of Missouri, and he highlighted 3 projects. 2 of those 3 projects were done with State Fair Community College. Out of everything that's happened in the state and workforce development, he picked 3, and 2 of them were from here.
I didn't know that. What were the projects?
Kawasaki and Warco, I believe. The parent company of Warco.
Yeah. Good job.
Anybody else? All right. Next meeting will be held on February 22nd, which is a Thursday at 5:30 here in the boardroom. It looks like we are going to have a work session beginning at 4, where we'll address the FY25 budget. And so next on the agenda is for the closed session. And of course, after that, we will then just close out of the regular meeting. So we'll appreciate all who've stayed with us, all of the information. Wow, I love hearing it myself. So it just gets us where we know really what's happening, and it gets us excited about what we're doing. So thank you.
Fortunately, we'll have nothing on the agenda in February because we did all.
Well, thank you for attending. So I would request a motion to go into closed session for hiring, firing, disciplining, or promotion of personnel pursuant to RSMO section 610.0213.
So moved. Maybe Tom, I saw lips already moving. Yeah. Yeah, she made my hair blow.
Lisa, do roll call.
Amber Pierce,
Yes.
Jeff Carr, Dustin Howe,
Yes.
Tom Ola.
Yes.
Rick Parker.
Yes.
Patricia Woods.
Yes. So to include Keith, Dr. Mertens, and Scott
Yes.
in the closed session. Hey, Brad, good to see you here. Thanks for coming.
Yep.
It's like a quick second.
Oh, that's right. I just
Are we off?
want to make sure.
If
We need to. You know, don't need to, I want to use it as a tool and you can look at it.